Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, here to bring you another episode review from Season 6 of The Loud House. Today's episode is titled, Save Royal Woods. First we'll discuss the plot, and then my thoughts and critiques with my final score. So, let's get right into it. In this episode, the citizens of Royal Woods have to save their town from being flooded to make way for a new Great Lake because their town is considered unmemorable. Everyone suggests ideas on what they can do to make their town stand out, and they settle on Flip's idea of making the world's largest flippy, which ends up exploding. Good going, Flip. Their next plan is to convince Joyce Crandall, the one who wants to flood the city, to preserve Royal Woods by explaining their town's supposedly rich history, but their phony act is quickly discovered. In the end, everyone explains that the memories they made in the town are what makes Royal Woods special, and that's enough to save the town from being flooded, and just enough to get Joyce fired from her job. Well, that concludes the plot of the episode, so now we come to my thoughts and critiques. I think before I go on with the actual review, I might as well just bring up the one thing I know everyone is going to talk about, so I might as well just get it out of the way. Not counting the episode Friended, this is the first Loud House special to not feature Lori, at least not in the way you would think. She only makes one quick appearance in the crowd when the camera zooms out to reveal the dam, but then she quickly disappears in the next shot. This is really disappointing and a little insulting because she had been a staple to every special since the second season. I was under the assumption that since her role was going to be very limited from season 5 onwards, I could always count on her making at least one appearance in all the specials since going off to college, and that was the trend for the longest time. In this special, however, she was absent for about 99.9% of the episode and was only just conveniently drawn into the background for whatever reason. It's a real downer if you're a fan of hers, and I personally found her random non-speaking appearance to be quite stupid, but I'm not going to harp on this any longer than I have to. Now with that out of the way, let's move on to the actual review. Save Royal Woods is presented as a musical, and it felt like the kind of episode that could have served as the basis to either the series finale or possibly another feature-length film. If I'm being honest, this episode was more deserving of being called a musical than really loud music, because unlike the latter, the former contained song numbers that helped to advance the plot and the characters. Speaking of which, the songs were the biggest highlights of the episode. The singing, especially from Lincoln and Miss Crandall, was top-notch, the visuals and overall choreography were quite entertaining, and it was all nicely complemented with the music itself. Collectively, it was like a mix of Broadway-style music and something along the lines of rap. The latter, of course, being Lisa's chance to once again show how she can dish out those West Coast rhymes. Lisa be representin', yo! And then there's the main concept of the story, which I personally find very interesting since it dealt with a subject that's not too common in modern children's programming, at least going based off the programs I've watched in recent years. The story dealt with eminent domain, which refers to the power of the government to legally take private property and convert it into public use following the payment of just compensation to the property owners. As the episode demonstrated, the state's Undersecretary of Water Leisure was going to pay all the townsfolk to move and give everyone a one-time only discount on water ski tickets for Lake Gladys once the town was flooded. That was her definition of just compensation. I don't want to bore everyone with all the technical details, considering the episode doesn't follow every exact detail, but conceptually, if you do some research on eminent domain and just compensation, Save Royal Woods demonstrated in its own way how people can be forced out of their homes to make way for something that can only be achieved through demolition. You want to talk about the show trying to remain grounded in reality? You can't get any more real than this. The main reason why Royal Woods was going to get destroyed was because it was said to be a very unmemorable place and nothing of great interest stood out. I guess an amusement park like Dairyland doesn't mean jack. Either way, Lincoln rallied everyone together in the attempt to save their town by taking suggestions on what they could do to make Royal Woods stand out. Their ideas ranged anywhere from slightly intriguing to weirdly creepy to, oh my god, just stop it! But the idea of the world's largest flippy didn't sound too bad. For once, it looked like Flip had finally come up with a genius plan that would put his business on the large-scale map and save the town at the same time. Yeah, that didn't last too long. Thanks to mixing expired gasoline instead of flippy syrup with Lisa's chemicals, the giant concoction exploded and their first chance to save the town had been dashed. Even in the face of imminent destruction, Flip still had to be cheap because he assumed no one would drink from the giant flippy. Then again, we found out in the episode Time Trap that flippies contain plutonium and everyone drinks that stuff like it's no big deal, so have fun trying to wrap your head around this one. Anyway, Lincoln's next plan was to convince the water secretary that their town had too much of a rich history for it to be destroyed, to which Lisa replied that the history of Royal Woods is very uninteresting. However, I kinda have to disagree to a small extent, because there are some similarities to be drawn from this fictional town and the real town is based upon. Royal Woods, Michigan was named after an oak tree, which makes sense because the town is based on the real-life city of Royal Oak, Michigan, the hometown of series creator Chris Savino. Plus, a little research into Royal Oak's history shows that the town was in fact named after a large oak tree. The only difference being that the story of the Royal Oak was inspired by King Charles II, not George III, as the episode tried to point out. Then again, Lincoln and the townspeople flat out lied about the history of their town, considering the real King George never once visited America at all, and their big charade in order to save their community fell apart when it was discovered the king's crown was actually Lola's. At this point, the fate of the town appeared to have been sealed, and there would be no more getting through to the water secretary. So now let's move on to the episode's main antagonist. Joyce Crandall is voiced by Tony Award-winning singer and actress Christine Baranski, and in my opinion, this was the best performance of any guest star the show has ever had. Christine not only backed up her performance with her incredible singing, but her character had the antagonistic personality to match. She was cold, uncaring, and wanted to boost state tourism as her way of being promoted from undersecretary to oversecretary of water leisure. She couldn't care less about the many people she would end up hurting, and that's made even more evident when she literally sings how she's already forgotten about them. That's the making of a good antagonist, the kind that just doesn't give a flying f***. However, I can't say she couldn't be persuaded into changing her mind. She was initially convinced to preserve the town after seeing the giant Flippy and nearly believing the town's supposedly rich history. To be fair, she argued that Royal Woods had nothing that was particularly noteworthy compared to the other places she visited in Michigan, so I can see why creating a new Great Lake in a well-known area would be a bad move on her part. However, her plan to create a Great Lake in just one city wouldn't be possible if we were to look at an actual map, including the one that was featured back in Season 5. Considering the size of the real-life Great Lakes and the actual location of Royal Oak, and Royal Woods for that matter, Lake Gladys would have to have been formed if certain parts of Canada and southeastern Michigan, not just the section where the Loud House is located, got flooded. Joyce's plan would have made more sense if she wanted to expand Lake St. Clair, the body of water that lies between Lake Erie and Lake Huron. Obviously, the map of Michigan seen in the episode Camp has a dark green unnamed section where St. Clair is supposed to be located, suggesting the lake doesn't even exist in this universe. Seems a little crazy if the show is trying to base its location on the real-life state of Michigan, but then again, creating a Great Lake as a birthday present for Joyce's mother is even crazier, so there you go. Anyway, being the heartless villainess she is, Joyce wasn't even slightly convinced to spare the town after everyone metaphorically sang their hearts out about the memories they made in Royal Woods, some memories serving as the backstory to a few particular characters. Surprisingly, Lisa explaining how their town had large amounts of metals and oil weren't enough to sway Joyce. Like, seriously, this town could boost an insane amount of revenue for the state with all that stuff, and Joyce was all like, nah. Regardless, the construction workers she hired to break up the dam were at least convinced to back out of the job, and Joyce was ready to destroy the dam herself, again demonstrating the kind of antagonist she truly is. It was at this point the episode was finishing up, and if I'm being honest, the ending was sort of a mixed bag, and not so much for the fact it felt a little rushed. On the one hand, it would have been a good developing moment for Joyce's character to see the error of her ways and have a change of heart after listening to the townsfolk sing their song about the great times they had in Royal Woods, showing Miss Crandall that you can't put a price tag on a place that's not just some random town, but one big metaphorical home. But on the other hand, having the antagonist get exposed as a cruel evildoer with no remorse on live television was just as satisfying. It's even more satisfying when Joyce's boss, the oversecretary whose job Miss Crandall wanted, fired her over the phone for wanting to destroy a perfectly good town on live television. I get the feeling Joyce's proposal for turning Royal Woods into a Great Lake was all her idea, and she never ran it by her superiors, therefore overstepping her bounds and rightfully deserving to be fired from her position. If she hadn't been caught, she would have gotten away with it. In its own way, this played right into the story's overarching theme of eminent domain and how it can be easily abused for economic development. That was pretty much Joyce's plan from the start, to boost state tourism and the revenue that comes with it at the cost of screwing over an entire town and its people. But in the end, the good guys won thanks to Lincoln being the man with a plan, the main baddie lost her job, and we got a technical fourth wall break by acknowledging everyone's impromptu singing. Not the funniest fourth wall break, but still pretty good. Overall, this musical-based episode was great from start to finish. The song numbers were tremendous, the inclusion of nearly all minor and recurring background characters in some capacity was greatly appreciated, the story hit the nail on the head when dealing with a close-to-home topic like eminent domain, and Christine Baranski's performance cannot be praised enough. Despite my personal hang-up about the use of Lori, or lack thereof, and how the ending may have seemed a little conveniently rushed given all the circumstances surrounding it, this 20-minute episode was certainly a step up from the previous special Time Trap, and as of this recording, it's an instant top 10 episode for season 6. With that said, I give Save Royal Woods a 9.7 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Save Royal Woods. There's not much else I can say other than this episode is a must-watch for season 6. It may not be perfect, but in my opinion, it's a reminder of how the show still has plenty of momentum left. You may agree or disagree, but it's episodes like this that can easily renew any waning faith you may have in the series, even if it's only for just a minute. So, as far as this episode goes, what did you guys think of it? Love it? Hate it? Something you would add? Change? Keep it as it is? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest Loud House content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.